I'm happy to have you twins with me today. What is it like out there in the desert, herding a bunch of sheep? And who is the better shepherd?
Ha, the better shepherd? What does that even mean? Maybe I should let you answer that, brother.
So you want me to fall into that pit? We hashed this out long ago, and through much gnashing of teeth we came to the position that neither of us is the better. We each have our own strengths.
And lacks.
But where each of us falls short.
The other seems able to pick up the slack. Isn't that right, brother?
This is true. Do you remember the time those pirates of the desert accosted us on our way to the high spring pasture?
Oh, yes. We were green young men back then, full of our own prowess.
Overflowing with our self-importance.
If I remember correctly, you were leading the flock, as usual, and decided to take that small wadi that wound between the two red hills.
No, brother. I may have been in the lead, but I distinctly remember you complaining bitterly about how long the day was dragging on and how we should take the shortcut between the hills to get there quicker.
Brother, you were the one who decided on the shortcut, not...
I may have made the decision, but it was only to placate your belly aching.
You did not have to take my advice if it was a bad choice. You made the final decision.
Wait. Here we go yet again. See what I mean? It is difficult to take the brash young man out of even us old men. Let us return to the story, shall we?
With pleasure, brother. As I was about to say, before I took us off our path, we rounded a bend in the narrow Tanya, and behold, two men stood in our way, one brandishing a spear, the other swinging a large dagger above his head.
I remember the blade flashing in the sunlight. We turned around to evaluate our route of escape and saw another man, now behind us, pointing his own spear at us.
So you said, well, this is just a fine kettle of fish you have gotten us into.
That I did.
And I snapped back, well, you didn't have to take my offhand suggestion. You made the final decision.
You did indeed, brother. Then the pirate with the dagger shouted, "Stop your needless chattering. We are taking these sheep and your robes."
Then the man next to him with the spear said, I want the bald man's sandals. They are much better than mine. But the man at the rear, right behind me, said, No! You got the last good footwear, and the rubbish I wear hardly stays on my feet. I get them.
Then the headman with the dagger shouted at them both, "Shut your yaps. I will decide who gets what, and I don't want to hear more words."
Then I shouted at him, Nobody is taking my sandals. Do you know how long and hard I worked out here, following these stinking sheep, day after stinking day, all to finally obtain a new second-hand pair of sandals? I think not. I would rather die than hand them over to you.
And the headman laughed, saying, "Then die you shall." And then you said,
Ah, yes, I said, before I die I will cast them to the top of that high rock over there, and no one will have them. And I bent down to untie them.
So the man behind you started toward you, saying, "I am taking them by force now," before he does that. But the headman shouted, "You will not. No one does anything without my say-so."
So the man next to the headman turned his spear on him, shouting back, I said the sandals were mine.
But the headman pointed his dagger at him and said, "Everything here belongs to me, and I will decide who gets what."
The two started a fight, but the dagger was no match for a spear, and the second in charge, after piercing the headman through the heart, became the new headman in an instant. He yelled back to the man behind me, You see, Wabu, I am now chief here. You are taking orders from me.
But the other man was having none of that. They fell into a shouting match, then shoved us aside and worked their way toward each other, squeezing between the bleating sheep, shaking their spears at each other.
They finally met in the middle of our flock, the sheep backing away from their flashing spears and desperate screaming.
As they engaged in battle, you could hear the spears rattle and clash, echoing in the Tanya.
And then, in a moment, it was all over. Simultaneously, they pierced each other's hearts. They fell down as dead men, hatred still pouring out in their dying breaths.
We were speechless.
For the first time in years.
We left them there, in the Tanya, food for vultures and beetles, and took our sheep up to the high spring pasture.
It wasn't really a shortcut, was it, brother?
Certainly not.
What do you most regret and appreciate about your lives?
I suppose the matter I most regret about my life of shepherding is the isolation. I am out here by myself, with nothing but sheep, all day, every day, tending to their constant needs. Sheep are not much society.
What about me, brother?
Yes, you are right. We are not totally alone, but you must admit, we are not really much company for each other. We know exactly everything each other knows. We know all the punchlines to each other's jokes. We know how all the stories end. We even know how each other thinks. So it is nearly like being out here alone.
I see what you mean, brother. I also despise the distance from my family, my wife and my sons. And although the times I am at home, it seems my wife and I find ourselves at odds with each other, we can still lie in each other's arms at night and find peace in the embrace. And while most of my sons are full of their own importance, yet I can take joy in their accomplishments, seeing them grow into young men.
I suppose one of the regrets I have of my shepherding life is little to no respect. When we finally get back to town, there is no one waiting at the main gate to greet us. The town fathers take no notice of us. We do not exist to them.
Ah, but this I love about herding out in the wasteland. There are no words to describe the glorious beauty of daybreak on the desert, the way the light of day slowly unfolds itself with the awakening sun.
Yes, or the first cool breeze of the evening, when the darkening sky turns the deep color of a rich man's robe, and after a fresh storm in spring, the sublime perfume of desert flowers floats on that breeze.
Though we can long for a different life, it would be difficult to give up the beauty and majesty that surrounds us day and night. My brother and I cherish the small treasures we find each day.